I told her 5 times, not to host her stupid wedding on my field. But that morning when I stepped out onto my porch with my coffee there, it was rows of white chairs, tents flapping in the wind, some kind of gold arch that looked like it came straight out of a cheap fairy tale. Karen Whitmore, the self-proclaimed queen of Willow Creek's HOA, was running around in her sun hat barking orders like she owned the place. And when the priest said, "You may now kiss the bride," I whistled, and my dogs did the rest. But let me back up because this circus didn't start overnight. I'm Ethan Parker. I live just outside the HOA boundary, thank God. My land isn't part of their little suburban dictatorship, but Karen never really understood boundaries. I run a small farm, mind my business, take care of my horses, and my 2 dogs, Bear and Duke. They're gentle giants, unless someone crosses the fence. Unfortunately, someone did. It started one warm afternoon. I was fixing the gate when a white SUV rolled up like it was making a presidential visit. Out stepped Karen, head held high, wearing pastel pink and a necklace that screamed, "I'm in charge." She didn't even say hello. "I've decided," she said, waving her clipboard. "We'll be using this field for my daughter's wedding." I thought she was joking. I laughed. "Karen, you've got to be out of your HOA-certified mind. This is private property." Her smile didn't even flicker. "Oh, it's already been decided," she said. "The HOA voted on it." That's when I had to remind her slowly, like talking to a kid. "Karen, my land isn't under your HOA. You have zero jurisdiction here." Her face went from pale to red to pale again like a malfunctioning traffic light. Then she leaned in and said in that icy tone of hers, "The wedding is in 2 weeks. Don't embarrass yourself by being uncooperative." She turned on her heels, leaving tire marks in my driveway and perfume thick enough to choke a horse. I just stood there, coffee halfway to my lips, thinking, oh, this is going to be fun. See, Karen's the kind of person who thinks authority is oxygen. She can't live without it. The HOA is her throne, her little kingdom. And anyone who says no to her automatically becomes public enemy number 1. I knew she'd try something stupid, so I got ready. Put up bright red, "No trespassing" signs, set up motion cameras, told my workers to stay alert. You can't argue with a tornado, you just reinforce your walls and wait. A few days later, I saw her walking her tiny dog Princess right up to my fence line, pretending to talk on the phone. "Yes, the wedding's at the scenic farm," she said loudly, glancing at me from the corner of her eye. "It's going to be magical." I walked over and said, "Karen, I'll charge you for every pixel if I see one more camera pointed at my land." She smirked. "You'll thank me later when the neighborhood magazine features your property." I could feel my pulse in my temples. Every day after that, she'd pull some new stunt, taking photos, waving to the HOA members, pretending everything was official. The whole neighborhood thought I'd agreed to it. One night I sat on my porch staring at those no trespassing signs glowing in the porch light, and I started to doubt myself. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I should just let it happen, let them have their stupid wedding and get it over with. Fighting Karen was like arguing with gravity, it just wore you down. But then my neighbor Lucas stopped by. He looked uneasy. "Ethan, just so you know," he said, "Karen's been telling people you gave her permission. Said you were excited to help." That's when something in me snapped. I wasn't just annoyed anymore. I was done being pushed around by a wannabe dictator in heels. The next morning I checked all the cameras, updated the security system, and made sure every inch of that field was recorded. If she was going to trespass, I wanted the whole thing on tape. 2 weeks later, the circus came to town. My cameras lit up like a Christmas tree. Trucks, decorators, florists, even a portable bathroom van on my land. I walked out onto the porch, mug in hand, heart pounding. Karen was in full command mode, white hat, headset, clipboard. "Move that tent to the left. Cover up that old barn. It's an eyesore." I shouted, "Karen, you're trespassing." She barely glanced at me. "Relax, Ethan," she said, like I was a misbehaving child. "You'll thank me later. It's just one day." Oh, it was going to be one day, all right, one she'd never forget. By noon, the place looked like a wedding catalog exploded. Men in tuxedos trudged through mud, women teetered on heels, photographers buzzed around like bees. Karen looked radiant in her pastel outfit, playing director of her dream scene. I stood on the porch, silent, letting my camera record everything. Bear and Duke sat beside me, ears twitching, waiting for my signal. I wasn't going to ruin the wedding, not yet. I wanted her to go all the way to make sure every second screamed trespassing on film. Then came the music. The ceremony started. People clapped, cried, laughed. Karen strutted proudly beside the bride like she was walking the red carpet. And I waited. Finally, the priest said, "You may now kiss the bride." That was my cue. I let out a sharp whistle. Bear and Duke exploded off the porch like thunder on four legs. The crowd went from joyful to screaming in about 2 seconds. Guests scattered chairs, flipped champagne, sprayed everywhere. The bride shrieked, the groom tripped over a flower girl, and the band dropped their instruments. Karen screamed, "Get them away!" But Duke had already snagged the edge of her designer dress. One quick tug and rip. The whole bottom half tore open, covered in mud. Her hat flew off, her perfect hair fell apart, and mascara streaked down her face like war paint. The chaos was glorious. Guests dove into cars, some barefoot, others dragging their gowns through the dirt. My dogs circled the field, barking triumphantly like they'd just defended the Alamo. I stood there on the porch, calm as ever, watching the queen of the HOA flail around in mud and regret. When Bear and Duke finally trotted back, tails wagging, I scratched their heads and said, "Good boys." By the next morning, the footage was everywhere. My security cameras had captured every second Karen trespassing, giving orders, ignoring my warnings, then the full-blown meltdown. Someone leaked it online, and within hours it spread through every HOA Facebook group in the county. Karen tried to play the victim. She went online claiming I'd unleashed wild beasts on innocent wedding guests. But the internet isn't stupid. They saw the video. They saw her. Comments poured in. "That's what you get for trespassing." "Queen Karen dethroned." "Bear and Duke for president." But she didn't stop there. Oh no. Karen filed a lawsuit, emotional distress, property damage, ruined memories. She even wore a neck brace to court like she'd been hit by a truck instead of karma. When the day came, she walked in holding a tissue and sighing dramatically. Her lawyer did his best, but even he looked embarrassed. The judge, a no-nonsense woman with glasses halfway down her nose, asked, "Miss Whitmore, did you or did you not organize a wedding on land you don't own?" Karen fumbled. "Well, technically yes, but it was for the community's benefit." The judge raised her hand. "Ma'am, that's called trespassing. You're lucky Mr. Parker didn't have you arrested." The courtroom went silent. Karen's face crumpled like a wet napkin. Her lawyer sank in his chair. I could almost hear the tiny violin playing her downfall. Then the judge turned to me. "Mr. Parker, you were well within your rights to protect your property. Case dismissed." Karen gasped. "But what about my dress?" The judge didn't even blink. "Maybe next time wear something more appropriate for breaking the law." Laughter broke out across the courtroom. Even the bailiff covered his mouth. Karen stormed out, muttering about revenge. Her neck brace, crooked dignity shattered. After that, things changed fast. Her friends stopped inviting her to HOA brunches. The board quietly replaced her as president. Every time my dogs barked, I'd see her twitch behind her curtains like she was having flashbacks. Sometimes I still spot her from across the street clutching Princess and glaring at my field. And I just smile. Because some lessons don't need words, they just need boundaries. And if there's one thing Karen finally learned the hard way, it's this. No trespassing means no trespassing.